There's a strange moment in life when the world stops making sense. But instead of falling apart, something else begins to come together. It usually doesn't start with clarity. It starts with a question. A quiet, haunting, almost ridiculous question. What if I'm not just reacting to life? What if I'm shaping it? For Elias, that question arrived on a Tuesday. He had just spilled his coffee, again, missed the bus, again. His boss was late with the feedback, the bills were early with their reminders, and his body felt like it was surviving life rather than living it. He sat alone on the worn bench at the corner of 6th and Pine, where pigeons pecked at crumbs and the city hummed indifferently around him. He whispered to himself without realizing, "Why does it always feel like this?" And in that fragile, overlooked moment, something shifted. It wasn't a miracle. It wasn't even hope. It was silence. A pause, where his mind stopped spinning, and for once he simply noticed. He noticed the way the sun hit the sidewalk, the rhythm of feet passing by, the warmth on his chest from the morning light. And most importantly, he noticed his own energy. Not the performance energy he used at work, not the polite energy he used with strangers, but his real energy, the one that felt worn out, skeptical but alert, alive, listening. Something inside him asked again, softer this time. What if life isn't just happening to me? What if I'm participating in it, whether I know it or not? It sounds poetic, but it wasn't poetry that moved Elias. It was a memory. Years ago, on a rainy day, he remembered stepping into a bookstore completely by accident. He had no money and no intention of buying anything. But as he wandered past the titles, a small red book practically fell off the shelf. It was about quantum fields, human energy, and the illusion of separation. He never finished it. But one line stuck with him for years. You are not a passive observer of reality. You are a participant in the unfolding of it. At the time, he thought it was nonsense. But now, after years of trying to control outcomes, fix relationships, chase money, chase meaning, chase everything, he started to wonder, what if the chasing was the problem? What if life is not something we win? What if it's something we harmonize with? That was the day everything began to change, not in the world, but in him. Elias started noticing patterns, the way people lit up when he genuinely smiled, the way tension dissolved in meetings when he entered calm, the way he could feel someone's presence before they even spoke. It wasn't magic. It wasn't science he fully understood. It was resonance. And once he saw it, he couldn't unsee it. He remembered another line from that red book, something about how matter isn't solid, not really, that at its core, reality is vibration, particles dancing in potential until observed. And observation isn't just what we do with our eyes, it's what we do with our consciousness. Could it be that the energy we carry isn't just internal? Could it be broadcasting? He tested it. Each morning, instead of checking his phone first thing, he paused. Just 10 seconds. He asked himself, what am I feeling right now? Sometimes it was dread, sometimes numbness, occasionally joy. But more often than not, it was autopilot. And slowly, with practice, he began to shift it. Not fake it, not force it, just adjust his inner station, like tuning a radio. From chaos to calm, from lack to enough, from reaction to creation. And the world responded, not with lottery tickets or fairy tale romances, but with reflection. When he held peace, people were kind. When he felt grateful, life offered more. When he felt worthy, really felt it. Opportunities appeared as if they were waiting for him to show up as him. He learned that this wasn't about control. It was about coherence, about coming into alignment with a version of himself that didn't need to chase, because it already carried the frequency of what it used to pursue. Elias didn't call it manifestation. That word had too much glitter on it for his taste. He called it remembering. Remembering that his thoughts were electric, his emotions magnetic, and together they were composing a frequency that reality couldn't ignore. He remembered walking into a room one evening, exhausted, carrying frustration from his day. The atmosphere was normal until he stepped in. Within minutes, the team meeting went tense, sarcastic, short. It hit him like a revelation. He wasn't a victim of the room's energy. He was the amplifier. So he tried something new. The next day, he paused in the elevator, breathed deeply, centered himself in appreciation. Not of anything fancy, just the fact that he was alive and here. When he entered the same room again, something was different. People were smiling, listening. He didn't do anything. And yet everything shifted. Why? Because energy speaks before words. He later found a study about the heart's electromagnetic field, that it's thousands of times stronger than the brain's and radiates several feet beyond the body. And when a person feels coherent, aligned, that field becomes harmonious. And others feel it. Not metaphorically, literally. You don't need to be spiritual to sense this. You just need to be honest. Think of a time someone walked into your space with heavy energy. Even before they spoke, you felt it. Or when someone truly radiant entered a room and everything lifted. That's not coincidence. That's resonance. And resonance doesn't lie. Elias realized that the universe isn't a vending machine. It doesn't respond to what you say. It responds to what you are, to the frequency you hold, even in silence. You can say, I want success, but if your body is vibrating with fear of failure, the field will match that vibration, not your wish. This wasn't about blame. It was about precision. Reality, he learned, is beautifully precise. Like a GPS, it can only guide you if it knows where you truly are, not where you pretend to be. So to move anywhere new, you first have to get honest about your current emotional location. Elias got curious. He asked himself daily, what emotion do I live in most of the time? At first, the answer wasn't pretty. Anxiety. Not panic, just a constant low hum of not enoughness. The hum that says, I have to do more, be more, fix more. And he wondered, if this is my baseline, what kind of reality has it been building? That's when the real shift began. Not by chasing goals, but by changing frequencies. And the craziest part, he didn't change by adding anything. He changed by letting go of beliefs that weren't his, of inherited fears, of old narratives that said worth must be earned. He learned that you don't receive what you want. You receive what you believe you are safe to have. And beliefs? They're just long-standing vibrations. He met people with talent, drive, and vision, and still, they sabotage success. Why? Because somewhere deep inside, their energy said, abundance is dangerous, love is risky, attention is unsafe. And the field responded not to their ambition, but to their protection patterns. Elias saw this everywhere. People pushing love away while begging for it. People repelling money while praying for it. Not because they were broken, but because they were broadcasting signals shaped by old wounds. And here's what hit him hardest. He was one of them. He remembered how, as a kid, he watched his parents fight every time money was mentioned. So even as an adult, every time he made more, something went wrong. A flat tire, a lost client, a bad investment. He thought he had bad luck, but it wasn't luck. It was alignment, with an old belief that said money brings pain. Once he saw it, he couldn't unsee it. But awareness, he learned, isn't the finish line. It's the starting point. You don't clear old frequencies by fighting them. You dissolve them by noticing, feeling, and releasing them. Gently, like unlearning a song you didn't know you were humming. That's what Elias did. Day by day, he began composing a new frequency, one of safety, worthiness, joy. Not because life suddenly became perfect, but because he did the work to feel what he used to postpone. He chose peace before peace arrived. He chose gratitude before success appeared. He chose love before love knocked. And the field responded. That's when he finally understood. You don't manifest what you chase, you manifest what you match, and you are always matching something. From that moment on, Elias stopped asking life for permission. He stopped waiting for evidence before embodying the version of himself he dreamed of becoming. And that's when everything truly began to shift. Not because he figured it all out, but because he finally understood that reality doesn't follow effort, it follows energy. And energy doesn't lie. He learned to wake up differently, not with the dread of tasks, but with a question, a real one. Who am I choosing to be today? Not what do I have to do, That question kept him trapped in old loops. But who am I choosing to be? That one unlocked him, because being shapes doing, and doing shapes having. It wasn't about pretending to be someone he wasn't. It was about aligning with the most truthful version of who he already was, underneath the fear, underneath the conditioning. The version of himself that didn't need to prove anything to deserve joy, peace, or abundance. This shift wasn't overnight. He had to deprogram decades of mental habits. The parts of him that measured worth through achievement. The voices in his head that said rest was laziness. That said receiving was weakness. That said happiness was indulgent. But every time he caught those voices and chose differently, he changed his frequency. Not by force, but by awareness. He stopped treating fear like the enemy. He began sitting with it, listening. He treated it like a child who didn't need discipline, but safety. He let the fear speak, and then, gently, he showed it something new, a different outcome, a new possibility. He did the same with doubt. He stopped arguing with it and started investigating it. Whose voice is this? He would ask. Is it even mine? Sometimes it was an old teacher, sometimes a parent, sometimes society. And each time he discovered that what he feared wasn't the outcome. It was the identity loss. Because when you let go of the story that you're unworthy, you also let go of the identity you've known for years. And that's scary. But it's also where freedom begins. He realized that beliefs aren't facts. They're agreements, often silent ones, inherited ones, but not permanent ones. And so he started to renegotiate. He made a new agreement with himself. I am safe to receive. Another one. I am already whole. And perhaps the most powerful one of all. I do not need to earn what is already mine by birth. Love, peace, belonging. As his energy changed, his world did too. People started responding differently. Opportunities found him, not because he was doing more, but because he was being more aligned, more honest, more available to life. He understood finally that the quantum field, this unseen sea of possibility all around us, isn't mystical. It's responsive. It doesn't deliver what you ask for. It reflects what you embody. And embodiment is not about performance. It's about resonance. He began to see reality as a mirror, not a judge, not a reward system, just a perfect, neutral mirror. When he felt scattered, life became chaotic. When he felt calm, life began to flow. When he felt unworthy, he attracted situations that echoed that belief. But when he walked into the world with the energy of someone who already had what he once chased, life rose to meet him there. He didn't need to force results. He needed to tune his signal. Think of a radio tower. It broadcasts continuously. That's what we are. Broadcasting stations. And most of us are unaware of the signal we're transmitting. So we receive noise, static, mismatches. But when you become intentional, when you wake up and deliberately tune into a frequency of joy, of peace, of confidence, you start to notice something incredible. Synchronicities. Those moments when the right person calls at the right time. When a stranger gives you the exact words you needed to hear. When an unexpected door opens just as you were ready to walk through it. That's not luck. That's alignment. And alignment isn't something you fake. It's something you feel. Elias found that tools like meditation, breathwork, and journaling weren't about checking spiritual boxes. They were about calibration, bringing his nervous system into the vibration of the future he wanted to live before it arrived. And that's the key. You don't wait for freedom to feel free. You feel freedom now. You don't wait for love to feel worthy. You feel worthy now. You don't wait for abundance to feel safe. You create safety now, because your nervous system doesn't know the difference between a deeply felt emotion and a real-life experience. When you feel the future as real, your biology responds, your energy changes, your vibration shifts, and the field mirrors that. The timing isn't always instant, but the reflection is always true. And the more you practice this inner alignment, the less resistance you carry. That's when life starts flowing, not without challenge, but without unnecessary friction. But there was something else Elias learned, something most people forget. Tuning your frequency also means protecting it. He noticed that certain environments pulled him back into old vibrations. Certain conversations drained his energy. Certain habits lowered his signal. So he became discerning. He stopped confusing comfort with alignment. He stopped saying yes out of obligation. He stopped staying in places where his energy felt small. And he started honoring his field. Because you can't vibrate at love while swimming in resentment. You can't cultivate peace while constantly consuming chaos. You can't align with clarity while living in noise. So he began pruning. Not as a punishment, but as a sacred act of becoming. He let go of outdated friendships. He changed how he used social media. He simplified his routines. He started walking in nature more, breathing more, feeling more. He began to live as if he already was who he came here to be, and slowly, reality matched him. That's when he realized the deepest truth of all. Manifestation isn't about getting, it's about matching. And you don't receive what you want. You receive what you are, and who you are is always up to you. Elias wasn't special. He wasn't chosen by some cosmic lottery. He was simply willing to remember, willing to experiment with the idea that life reflects, not punishes, that the world doesn't test you, it listens to you, and not through your voice, but through your vibration. That understanding changed how he approached everything. Decisions became simpler, not because they were easier, but because they were clearer. He stopped asking, "Will this make me successful?" and started asking, "Does this feel aligned with who I'm becoming?" He stopped chasing goals that were never truly his, goals based on proving, pleasing, performing, and instead he chose to live from the inside out. And with that shift, his need for validation began to fade. You see, when you truly embody your own frequency, external approval becomes less necessary. You no longer need the world to clap for you when you've already decided to applaud your own becoming. That's what inner alignment gives you. Not just results, but peace. It's not about living a life without fear or doubt. Elias still had moments of both, but now those emotions didn't steer the ship. They were passengers. He acknowledged them, honored them, but didn't let them drive. Because he knew the captain was his frequency, his state of being. He also realized that clarity isn't something you wait for. It's something you create by stepping forward with presence. Even when the path isn't fully visible, the more aligned he became, the less he feared uncertainty. Because uncertainty, he learned, isn't the enemy. It's the birthplace of creation. He began each day as a deliberate act. Before reaching for his phone, he reached for himself. He asked, "What energy do I want to embody today?" Not what goals, not what emails, not what problems. Just, what am I choosing to radiate? And from that question, he lived. Some days it was ease, others courage, some days joy. And on harder days, the choice was simply to remain open, to not shut down. Because he knew the field was listening. And when the outer world didn't match yet, he didn't panic. He trusted the process. He stopped planting seeds in his energy and then digging them up with doubt. He started tending to them, watering them, holding them in belief. That's when the universe, slowly and faithfully, began showing up with gifts. Not because he deserved them more, but because he finally believed he did. And here's the part that may surprise you. The magic wasn't in what he got. It was in who he became. He became someone who no longer waited for the mirror to change before smiling. He became someone who could feel abundance before it landed in his bank account. He became someone who could feel loved, even when alone. Because the frequency of your future is not found in your environment. It's found in your embodiment. And that truth unlocked him. Elias wasn't enlightened. He was just consistent. He practiced tuning in. He practiced remembering who he truly was underneath the noise. And with every breath, every choice, every shift, he aligned more and more with the version of himself that no longer needed to reach for reality. He simply became it, and reality followed. This is the quantum shift. It's not an event. It's not a secret hack. It's a commitment to living as if you already are what you desire, to speak as if it's true, to feel as if it's here, to trust that the field, always honest, always responsive, is rearranging itself not according to your effort, but according to your energy. So now the question comes to you. What frequency are you living in most often? And more importantly, does it match the life you say you want? If not, it's not your fault. It's your invitation to pause, to tune in, to remember, because you are not powerless. You never were. You are not waiting to be chosen. You are choosing. With every thought, every feeling, every action, you're casting votes for the reality you're stepping into. You are the vibration. You are the signal. You are the cause. And life is just the reflection. So stop waiting for something out there to shift before you decide to feel worthy, to feel whole, to feel ready. You're not becoming someone new. You're returning to who you've always been. So the next time you wonder why life feels stuck or disconnected or just plain heavy, ask not, what's wrong with the world? Ask, what am I broadcasting? Because the mirror will always reflect your light as soon as you're ready to turn it on. And when you do, you won't need to chase anymore. You'll remember the field doesn't respond to your voice. It responds to your vibration. And that changes everything. If this story awakens something in you, consider subscribing. Share your experience below. Your voice might be exactly what someone else needs to hear today.